It's been some time since I've felt the kind of magic wonder resplendent in the premiere episodes of The Rings of Power. As a cinematic return to the sunshine and shadows of Tolkien's world, this show delivers with glorious sights and sounds. Yet, there's something eerie about what we're watching, apart from the looming evil of Sauron. I am feeling uneasy about the authoritarian presence of the elves in this world. This uneasiness seems to be intentional, as there are nods throughout which indicate that the elves in charge are not exactly in the right. But I wonder why mostly all the elves are so radiantly white. Could it be that the showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay and Amazon Studios really intend to tackle white supremacy within their adaptation of a Tolkien story? Sure, there is a welcomed amount of diversity among the humans, dwarves, and harfoots. Yet, Arundir is the only non-white elf in these two episodes, and he's stationed at a watchtower far away from the grand elven cities. Perhaps then this is meant to add depth to Arundir's forbidden romance with Bronwyn, a human. Their chemistry certainly feels more grounded than the lovely yet picture book romance between Arwen and Aragorn from the original Peter Jackson trilogy. Arundir tells Bronwyn that elves have little need for actual healers, since as immortals, most of their wounds heal themselves. Instead, artificers use their skill on works of beauty.
For beauty has great power to heal the soul.
But what does beauty look like to the High Elves? The show begins with a flashback to the heavenly lands of Valinor. One might call the frolicking kids angelic. One might describe the voyage at the end of episode 1 as divine. One might also sense an unsettling cultish fervor pleasing to white supremacists who dream of an Aryan utopia. I'll leave it to others to fully analyze the racist elements of Tolkien's fantasy, or the works of other myth makers for that matter. But in adapting such works for today, I do hope the showrunners are aware of the optics and treat themes of race with care. So far, the show illustrates that discrimination goes both ways. The commander at the watchtower distrusts humans for their ancestors' mistakes, while both Arundir and Galadriel are distrusted for being uppity elves. Both of which, by the way, are alike in that they are compelled by duty to do not so smart things. I imagine they're destined to meet down the line to stop Sauron. Galadriel, though, seems to have a more authoritarian side, an aspect that foreshadows her temptation for power. seen in the Lord of the Ring films. In this show, we see that her singular focus to destroy all remnants of evil distracts her from the well-being of her company of soldiers. She slaughters the frost troll as if to demonstrate that it's no big deal and that they should stop complaining. Similar to an Ayn Rand protagonist, or what a capitalist boss pretends to be like. At least she relents when her subordinates go on strike.
Let's go! Do this stuff
We want to thank Jeff Bezos for going to space, because when he was up there, we were signing people up.
Amazon responded to the union vote in a statement saying,
"We're disappointed with the outcome of the election in Staten Island because we..."
Back in Linden, we get a better look at the High Elf hierarchy. The High King has declared an end to wartime and sends Galadriel and her soldiers off to Elf Heaven, while Elrond is ordered to work under the illustrious smith Celebrimbor to help build a stupendous forge, which I imagine will be used to craft the titular Rings of Power.
We've decided that you will be working with him.
To use an analogy fitting for Tolkien's time, the High Elves resemble Nazi Übermensch, who meddle with atomic power. Elrond, who is half elven, however, is meant to represent the better path, as he suggests working together with the dwarves. Let's not forget that Tolkien himself benevolently compared his dwarves to Jews.
The dwarves, of course, quite obviously, couldn't you say in many ways they remind you of the Jews? All their words are Semitic, obviously, and constructed be Semitic. There's a tremendous love of the artifact, and of course the immense warlike capacity of the Jews do, which we tend to forget nowadays.
I had no idea you admired them, sir.
I admire all who can see into the mystery of things, who can divine from the plainness of what is, the beauty of what could be.
Luckily, the dwarves here move away from Jewish stereotypes and are presented as proud yet diverse peoples. Disa and Durin's home is certainly a heartwarming respite I'd like to return to. The long-living Elrond may have taken his friendship with Durin for granted, but it's nice to see that he is genuinely apologetic. Moving on to the Harfoots, they're the show's version of hobbits. They're nomadic and earthy people that bring a childlike smile to my face. Like the hobbits, they're insular and unconcerned with the outside world. That is, except for Nori. She's the kind of person who sees a strange man fall from the sky and is compelled to help. Nori is great, but in thinking about subverting aesthetics, I'm now imagining the roles of Nori and Poppy switched. What if Poppy were the lead and Nori the sidekick in the mud? I digress. What about that meteor man? He definitely has the look of your typical wizard, right? Speaking of spacemen, did you know that Amazon chairman Jeff Bezos was personally involved in the negotiations to buy the rights to the series as a Tolkien fan himself? Though at the London premiere, Bezos downplayed his meddling by thanking the writers for both listening to and ignoring his notes when they deemed it necessary. Perhaps his son is to thank for him not getting too involved, as he apparently asked his father not to F this up. Bezos went on to thank the creators, not unlike that other time he thanked his workers and customers for allowing him to splurge on another pet project.
I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all of this. So seriously, for every Amazon customer out there and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much.
We want to thank Jeff Bezos for going to space, because when he was up there, we was signing people up. We was down there, kid.
This time, at least we can experience the results of Bezos' dreams ourselves. But try to forget that guy. If we're gonna spotlight anybody, let it be these people. Even as someone who hasn't read the books, and of the films only really liked The Fellowship of the Ring, they've captured my attention with the Rings of Power. I'm impressed that they've covered so much in 2 hours without making it feel rushed or undercooked, and have still managed to match, maybe surpass, the splendor of the movies. We'll have to wait to see how well the series follows through with its ideas on good and evil. I suppose Amazon and the Tolkien estate are content with the diversity of the show's cast. It's a step up from the Fellowship of White Men in various sizes from the Peter Jackson trilogy. But honestly, I doubt they have the courage or understanding to adequately address the Aryan appearance of their immortal heroes.
How am I to know which lights to follow?
Sometimes we cannot know until we have touched the darkness.